Hi, Carolyn.
Hello.
Welcome to your Author on Demand private reading.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for letting me read to you today. Carolyn,
Absolutely.
I was remembering the first time I saw you. You probably remember it too. But the first time I saw you was at a yoga workshop at UMKC in this huge, it was big as a gym,
Mm-hmm.
student
Mm-hmm.
center. I saw you and Carolyn Celestine walking in there with your yoga mats. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, oh my God, there's two other Black women in here today. I had been taking yoga for 20 years in Kansas City, and I
Mm-hmm.
had never seen another Black person in any of my yoga classes.
Yep.
In
Yep.
20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Me too.
And then when you told me we had the same teacher, Sujata
Mm-hmm.
Stevens, that,
Mm-hmm.
ah. So now, years later, you're my yoga teacher.
Yeah. Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it. It feels so good to me. um, Today, I'm going to read to you story that you picked, Comfort Food, from my book, Blindsided, Essays from the Only Black Woman in the Room. This is actually one of my favorites because it kind of wraps up everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Comfort food. The to-go box on the kitchen counter held a piece of apple pie, a reward for toiling at my computer all morning after a breakfast date with my husband. I savored the anticipation of that pie as much as I was about to savor the pie. I imagined it nestled inside the box, a deep wedge of sweetness, the peaks of the crust a golden brown, and the valleys glinting with sugar. It would be overstuffed with thick filling, an apple slice or two oozing out. And how the house would fill with the sweet aroma of hot apple pie when I warmed it up in the oven. Fork in hand, I opened the box. Staring me in the face was a pile of burnt crust pieces and goop that looked like something swept up from the floor. You call this pie? Assholes. I can't believe they pulled this. I should have checked the box before we left. No, I shouldn't have to check. Maybe they didn't pull anything. Sometimes pie comes out of the pan messy. Don't make excuses for them. You might give this to a relative, not to a customer. Who did it? And did they know who the customer was? Assholes. That morning, as my husband and I pulled into the parking lot of a neighborhood cafe, freezing wind whipped the stars and stripes around a flagpole. The lot was packed with pickups, except for 4 off-duty cop cars, police cruisers. I shoved my hands into my pockets and used Ben as a windbreak, crossing the lot. The restaurant, a red barn with green awnings, was the kind of place frequented by regulars, which did not include me. My experience was limited to one catfish lunch. Ben, on the other hand, had eaten there with a buddy often enough to know the menu included his favorites. A bakery case spotlighted cobbler, cake, cinnamon rolls, and golden wedges of apple pie. The cops lounged at a round table, heads bowed, thumbs at work on the keys of their cell phones. I scanned the room for non-white faces. There were none, and simultaneously chastised myself for that automatic response. Beside the pass-through to the kitchen, a life-sized wooden pig held a sign ordering, "Eat more chicken." Above the case, another sign boasted, "Home cooking." Just what I needed, comfort food. In comfort food cafes, the servers were efficient and they always called me honey. I had a soft spot for both qualities. A hostess approached us, her expression set in a snarl. She glanced in my direction just long enough to ignore me, and then shifted her slitty-eyed attention to a spot somewhere near Ben's feet. "Two?" she asked. I knew that move. My sister and I had used it on each other whenever we were feuding. Now, the hostess might have intended the attitude for me in particular, or she might have intended it for both of us. It was also possible that a general bad mood had plastered that sneer on her face long before we walked in. Ben didn't seem to notice, much female nonverbal communication being under the male radar. He pointed to a vintage motorcycle balanced on top of a waist-high room divider. "Yeah," he said, "two. There's a spot I like over by the Indian." She had already shuffled off towards stools lined up at a counter. She veered from her original course and headed toward the divider. Ben said, "I mean the other side. It's quieter. Is that okay?" "Whatever you want." She had her back to us, but I could tell she was rolling her eyes. She led us to a booth where she dropped two menus onto the table. "Your waitress," her departure muffled the remainder of the sentence. A hook poked from a nearby coat rack, so I reached out to hang up my parka. A customer was sitting across the room, glaring over her shoulder at me. Now, I was used to catching an initial gawk when I walked into a room, and then the gawker's face usually warmed into an embarrassed smile. This woman was ice. She spooked me. She parted her lips, and her companion slow motioned his stare in my direction. I refused to turn away. Their mouths set in twin grimaces. They stared for as long as it took me to hang up my coat and fumble out of my scarf and hat. I'd seen the expression before. On a couple of good old boys in a little mountain town, they had been sitting on chairs outside a pool hall, their legs stretched across the sidewalk, blocking my progress. They waited a bit, then slow motioned their resentful legs out of the way. When I shuddered into our booth, the placement of the table put my back to the couple. Damned if I didn't land in the path of another poison arrow. This woman sat by herself in a corner, elbows on her table, coffee cup cradled in her hands. Her eyes narrowed. She peered through the steam rising from her cup. Her shoulders were squared as she leaned forward, facing me head on. She did not break eye contact. I was shocked. It was the same glare that a guy in a rusted pickup had used on me years before. Both of us stopped at a red light. He had made eye contact, held it, then spat out his window. Ben studied his menu. I simmered. If I mentioned these incidents, how would that conversation go? Me, these people are staring at me. Ben, of course, you're beautiful. Me, it's not funny. And then I would pitch a fit. Or me, that couple looks like they want to kill me. Ben, honey, I'm sorry. Want to go? Me, what? Let them chase me off? And then I would pitch a fit. Or me, that woman's giving me a dirty look. Ben, what do you need from me? Me, nothing, something, I don't know. And then I would pitch a fit. And then the table full of cops would be all over me. I could not unravel my tangled emotions on the spot. Better to bury the knot under pancakes. Our server walked over. She was blue-collar skinny, and my tension parted in the wake of her unhurried ease. Penny, according to her name tag. How are you folks this morning? She filled Ben's cup without needing to ask him, warmth radiating from more than the coffee pot. Need another minute? I pointed to number 6 on the menu. Nope, pancakes and eggs. How you want your egg, honey? Servers who called me honey always took good care of me. I relaxed. Scrambled, please. Ben said, biscuits and gravy. Before I had time to enumerate the ways that choice would shorten his lifespan, Penny had already come back and set our plates in front of us. I'll be back to check on you. After the pancakes did their job, I sipped hot tea. A border of chickens marched along the top of the restaurant walls, complemented by vintage tin signs. We feed our chickens Gooch's best, bragged one. I chuckled at another one. It was a hen that proclaimed, he rules the roost, but I rule the rooster. My rooster and I solved the world's problems in between groans of satisfaction. Penny breezed by again to top off Ben's cup. It seemed her timing was set by a secret code that passed between coffee drinkers and servers. I shook my head in wonder at the magic of the interaction as she walked into the second dining room. How does she? Above the doorway, next to Sweet Lassie Feeds, hung a movie poster for Gone with the Wind. I did not see Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler. I saw bloody stripes on naked black backs. I did not see a love story. I saw slavery. Despair and anger threatened to boil over. Here I was on a spontaneous date with my sweetie. It had been my idea. Hell, I'd even picked the place. But if I succumbed to my feelings, then the restaurant won. If I shared my feelings with Ben, the restaurant won anyway by controlling my conversation. I would tell Ben later at home. The restaurant would not win. But while I caressed my hubby's fingertips, a phantom self covered in the slime of partially digested insults slipped from her tomb deep within my belly. The phantom self wailed, smashed plates, and threw chairs. She ripped that poster from the wall and set fire to. Penny was gathering up our dirty dishes. Honey, you got room for dessert? Apple pie, please, to go. In my kitchen, fork in hand, I opened that to-go box on my counter, and inside was a heap of burnt crust pieces and goop. They had thrown scraps in my to-go box. Scraps where there ought to be pie. But sometimes pie comes out of the pan messy. Don't make excuses. But who filled the box? Maybe they didn't know who the customer was. Maybe this is just about sloppy customer service. Yeah, maybe. I was sick of the constant onslaught. Little things, big things. Cops repeatedly pulling me over 2 blocks from my house for 2 miles over the speed limit. People who bragged they were colorblind. Magazine covers, their dark-skinned celebrities photoshopped 4 shades lighter. Pairing up in diversity training class, my white colleagues picking each other and leaving me standing alone. The diversity trainer and me staring our belief at each other. The neighbor who had confronted me on my daily walk. I've never seen you before. Where do you live? The straight-haired acquaintance who coveted my nappy-haired dreadlocks, but she sure didn't covet my nappy hair life. I was a news story on a loop. Assault, protest, investigation, no indictment, protest, silence, repeat, repeat, repeat. Maybe they hadn't known who had ordered dessert to go. Yeah, maybe. I lay my fork beside the open box. White privilege. The ability to attribute mangled pie to bad service.
So much there. So much there. It's the story of our life. And it leaves you in a quandary because you're trying to figure out, is this just the way the people they are to everybody, or is it just me? And so we, to me, it's like, as a Black person, you're on the battlefield all the time till you come back home. I can just name so many instances, and racism and prejudice is different from generation to generation,
Oh.
because my generation, we were segregated. And so we had our own stuff. And so as a child, I didn't know that there was racism and prejudice, because I lived in a Black community with Black restaurants and Black theaters and Black, and so that was the world I knew. I mean, I would see, these other people, but it just didn't register to me that, of what was going on. And it didn't start until, as the older you get, then you start understanding. We were protected.
And you're talking about Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes.
Yes.
You're
not talking about the deep South. You are talking about segregation in Kansas City, Missouri.
In Kansas City, it was, we in Kansas City, Missouri, you could ride the streetcar and sit anywhere. So we didn't even have that hitting you in the face. You go south, you had to go to the back of the bus. See, so, I lived like in a fantasy world as a child. And it took it, as growing up for these, things to hit, when I think about, when you talk about the comfort food, my mom used to, and this is the only time as a child that I realized something was different, is because my mother would send me to Oklahoma for the summer. And so again, we're still in a Black community, but their buses were segregated. And so we get on the bus. My favorite spot on the bus was the little side seat in the front. And so that's where I got on and sat down, and my cousin grabbed me, said, "Girl, we got to go back here." I said, I could not understand why we had to go back there. How come I can't sit up there? Because that's where I wanted to sit. So I got a little bit of that then, and, as a child, I kind of blew it off, but like I say, it wasn't until, you start getting older and branching out that, you saw these slights, and, it's like, you go to a counter, and you were the first to the counter at whether it was a store and everything, and they wait on the white person that came up after you. And you're like, but I was here first, kind of thing, Just, I could go on and on about all the little things, But, like I said before, I came from a family of strong Black women, and they would stop and confront, and I would be standing there with my mouth open because, as a teenager, you don't want to make no waves,
Right.
And so but my mother, you go into a department store, and there'd be somebody following her,
Oh, God.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember it. I was with her.
And these experiences where you're starting to understand what's out there, and that was as a teenager.
As a teenager, and my mother swung around on the man or whatever and said, "You don't have to follow me around the store. I got enough money to buy anything I want." And I'm going, "Oh, Mom, don't do that, don't do that," But they something in my mother's And when I say mothers, my mother, my grandmother, and their psyche, they were unafraid.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they would confront people. I was like, oh God, don't want to make waves,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it happened time again. And then I look at my sister. My sister, who is 13 years younger than me, was more militant than I was
Mhm.
because she had a different experience. My children, the older, I've got like two sets of children. I got older ones and younger ones. And those older ones, they were well aware of, prejudice and racism and stuff. My youngest, he missed it because by this time, schools are integrated, everything is, and he grew up with some of his best friends are white. We got this, my best friend is white, but they were because he grew up with them, And so when that racism finally did hit him, he was kind of like me, like, well, why did they do that? Mm-hmm. So it changed through generations, but there isn't a time that you don't get in a situation where like you say, who put that pie in that box, and do you, like you said, do you treat a customer like that? It's always back here. Is this something? Yeah, is this something that, am I imagining this, or is this real? So you're in that quandary, um, uh, and there have been times that I have thought it was racist, and it wasn't. It was that person treated everybody like that. There are times, but in other times, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always there.
It's always there, and I think for me it was a tamping down, and I did not realize how much was tamped down in there until I started writing. And every time I wrote about something that happened to me years ago, I still feel it. But the doubt, that the second guessing and the doubt that we carry around, as a yoga teacher and a health practitioner, tell me what that's doing to our bodies.
Yeah. Because yeah. And well, just look at the health statistics. Our mortality rate is higher.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are fighting every day, and we're confronted every day, and the stress that it puts on your body. Mm-hmm. Stress kills.
And it's accumulated, unacknowledged, and so not dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How does yoga affect your relationship with all this stuff?
It helps me internally. It helps me deal with that stress and get it off of me. The first time I was introduced to yoga, I felt stuff fall off of me. Oh. And I'm going like, what happened? I got to do that again. I got to do that again, I was always a physical person. I danced and everything. And so, but, that everyday stress of the job and what you have to put up with and all, And I would come home and the kids are like, mama, 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 I need this, I need this. I had 5 kids. So, I'm going like, oh, Lord, it's Jesus. And so this is when cable first hit Kansas City. And I went into my room to change clothes. I said, hold up a minute, let me go change clothes. And I went in my room, changed clothes. And back then, because it was so new, we click on the TV, and there was Lilius and yoga. And I said, oh, I can do that. Oh, so I'm doing all the little poses and whatever, And then she put us down in Shavasana. I thought, oh my God, what? When I got up from there, I was a changed person. I mean, it just fell off of me, And, I went out, I said, okay, all the kids are there. I said, what's the problem? Well, by this time they forgot what it was, but, and so I just kept seeking that out, because back then it was fairly new and this is, you had to seek it out.
Yes.
But yeah. And I haven't left it. I've been with it ever since, because at the end, when I could say, they say, it's time for Shavasana. Oh, I go through the whole thing, so because I can do this. And I yoga saved my life. I think probably because it taught me how to breathe and how to relieve that stress. And everything. I mean, because as a Black person, you not only got to go through the regular stress of life, but you have this other stress of, okay, why you treat me this way? Yeah, it's double. We have double stress. We get it. Yeah.
Do you ever not think of yourself as Black? When you walk into a room, see, I think this is really hard to get across to people. That if you're white, you're just a person. But as a Black woman, I am always a Black woman. It never, that awareness never seems to go away.
Yeah. And the era that I came through, because as I was breaking into the workforce and all like this, we were breaking down barriers.
Oh yeah.
So I can't tell you, well, I was generally the only Black person in the office.
Yeah.
In this, in that, and pretty soon I just got used to it, like you say. And then when you see another Black person, you go, what? So yeah, it's always there. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and as time goes on, you realize that, it's not only the Black people that get this, it's the Asian people and the Mexican people, anybody of color,
Yeah.
you end up being,
Yeah.
singled out or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm. Just hard to relax.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Carolyn, how are you feeling about the future in this country in terms of consciousness of racism?
We still got a long way to go. Long way to go. It's like we so up to this point we just had battles. We've won some battles, but we haven't won the war. And so you got to be constantly battling in order to make a change and not I want to say change people's attitude, but I'm not sure that you can change. Somehow or other the world has to come to the conclusion that what they're doing is not right. It's not working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, that's yeah, it's a long, we got a long ways to go. A long ways to go.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
My sister lives on a plaza just right across the street from the art gallery. And she had her house appraised. Now, she lives in that Rock Hill area.
Right.
We're talking, $500,000 homes.
Right.
Just because of the location, primarily, and the size of the homes and all like that are in that area, And she had her appraiser come out. And of course, she was there, which was her mistake.
It's her mistake.
Because she got like $200,000 appraisal or something. And so I said, excuse me, wait, hold up. And so one of her friends who happened to be white, she says, you should have had me come over and be there. You have to do stuff like that. Have a white person, and I heard of another case where how you have pictures of your family in the room.
Yes.
You gotta sell your house, you better take them pictures down so that people come in don't know that Black folks live there. This is 2021. This is not 1940. And this is 2021.
Damn near 2022.
And we're still having to fight that battle.
Yeah.
It's just, whew. Yeah. Yeah, we got a long way to go, And, I think back, hey, I have marched and I have protested and I've done all those kind of things, and now I'm old.
Passing the baton to someone else. Huh?
Yeah, but I still try to support, and do what I can, but because the victory is not won yet. It's still ongoing thing. I remember I'm a United Methodist woman, and so we do a lot of traveling around the state. And I was going down I-70 and got 3 ladies in the car with me. And the police siren comes on. Now, not speeding. No, I haven't done anything. And I thought, what is this about? So I pulled off to the side of the road, you know. I don't know what he came up. It was something like I was driving too slow. But when he looked in the car and saw these other white ladies in the car, you know, things kind of changed.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, like I said, you get stopped. You know, my husband, where we live, is close to the freeway. And as soon as you get off of 435 and start down and all that, it's a downhill thing. Well, the police tend to sit over there to catch you because you're doing, you know, 70 or whatever. And when you hit that hill,
yeah, and then coming downhill, yeah.
Step on your brakes. And if you don't, you're going faster than 35 miles an hour.
Yes,
anyway, woman stopped him. So he knows the rules. Don't say nothing. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Whatever. And she gave him a ticket. And well, I work for a law firm. So generally, you know, something like that happens, I talk to one of the attorneys and they can, you know, get it amended or whatever, so we don't get it on our driver's thing, you know. You just pay more money and they take it off on everything. And so I take it to, you know, one of the lawyers, and he came back, he says, I can't do anything with this. He says, because she wrote on the ticket that he was rude. He hasn't opened his mouth. So when she wrote that on, that means automatically he had to go to court. I said, what? You know? So I said, I'm going with you. I said, we both said, she's gonna have to explain this. And so we get to court, and you know, of course he was willing to pay the fine because he was going 5 miles over the speed limit, you know. And he said, he asked the judge, he says, what I want to know is how I was rude. I want her to answer the question, how I was rude. And she couldn't come up with it. So the extra fine that was on there was taken off because the judge is going like, you can't put it on there unless you can explain it. Now, I just wondered if he was white and going 5 miles over there, if he'd even got a ticket.
Well, that's the thing, Carolyn. You just end up in this place of, I wonder, and pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need yoga.
Yeah, you know, breathe.
To breathe.
Yeah, you know, sometimes my husband comes in so angry, you know, and I have to say, breathe, exhale, breathe. and nothing else you can do about this. You got to breathe, you know.
You just have to breathe.
Yeah, and this is the reason that I'm trying so hard to get more of my people into yoga. And this, I was so happy to find this Black Yoga Association thing, you know, because we need it more than anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's so many that don't realize that they need it, you know. That I could get on the rooftops and shout,
Yes.
I'll pay you, come, 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 come.
God. Just
Yeah,
breathe.
it's
Just
yeah,
breathe. I got it.
yeah, yeah. You know, and you hear me say it every time. You know, everybody thinks yoga is about twisting your body up and doing all this. You know, they say, "Oh, I can't do that." You know, I just that's not what it's about. Yoga is for people who have problems.
Yeah, which includes all of us. That's really a good way to put it. That's really a great explanation.
Yeah, it's
I think that acknowledgement that we all have problems is a good place to end, because this problem of racism and what it does to people of color, it's a virus that infects white people too. We are all infected with it because we've all grown up in this atmosphere.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And even if someone is not actively practicing racism, prejudice, or anything, it's just that we've all grown up in this air. And so we've all internalized it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all need to take yoga.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, because you know, a lot of people don't realize that they have white privilege.
That's right.
They don't even recognize
No.
that this is what they're experiencing, what they're doing. So yeah, it's for everybody. It's for everybody.
They can't see it. That's the comment I've gotten the most about this particular story, that what white privilege is at the end of it, from white readers is, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I get it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. You know, and it slowly, you know, they get being again, you know, like my sister's friend says, you should have had me come over. She said,
right.
He recognized
Yes.
what had happened.
Yes.
And yes. Okay. Yeah. It's slow.
Very slow. Bit
by bit. Yeah.
Very slow. Well, sadly, we're not going to solve it today.
No.
So I am going to hit the end of the record button.
Mm-hmm.
And don't go away.
I won't.